Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to learn how to work with files. Maybe at this point you may be thinking yourself that what are we doing with Jupyter notebooks once again? But we have to learn a keyword called with in order to comprehend the following lectures in a clearer way. Okay? So, in order to understand with, we have to understand working with files. So that's what we're going to do in this lecture. So I open Jupyter Notebooks once again, and I'm going to create a new notebook, and then I'm going to create a new file and teach you how to work with it. Of course, if you wish, you may not do the same thing once again. You may just watch this lecture because we're not going to use these exact codes in our keylogger, but I'm going to show you anyway. So if you want, just watch it. But if you want to learn more about Python, I suggest you do and follow the exact same steps with me. So I'm going to rename this Jupyter notebook as my file, okay, because we're going to learn how to work with files. And in order to do that, we have to have a file, right? We have to have a file in the same directory with this Jupyter notebook. So there are two ways to do that actually. You may just go to the directory and create a file on your own. But also we can use a method that is specific to Jupyter notebook to create this file automatically from coding section in here. And remember, you cannot do that in regular Python code. You cannot use this technique in Sublime Text or PyCharm, but in here you can say %% write file. In order to write a file, okay, %% write file, then a space, then the file name. So I'm gonna call this myfile.txt, and below I'm going to write the content of that file. So all I'm going to say test1, test2, and test3. Okay? If you hit Shift Enter at this point, it will write this file, it will write this content to a file called myfile.txt. Now, if you browse to your directory, you will see that your file is created at this moment. So let me show you how to work with this file. First of all, I'm going to create a variable called my_file, and all I have to do is just say open, and within parentheses specify the file name. Since they are at the same directory, I can just say myfile.txt. If they weren't, I had to specify all the path. Okay? Now I can say myfile.read. It will just display the content of that file. So this is how it works. This is very simple, okay? But it gets complicated after this moment. And this complication is one of the primary reasons that we need the keyword with. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I call myfile.read one more time, then it won't display the result to me because it works with a cursor. Maybe you have worked with cursors before, if you have worked with SQLite or SQL or something. So it has a cursor and it just displays, it just reads the characters one by one, and when you finish this reading process, the cursor is at the end of the file, okay? So it's sitting right here. So if I just call myfile.read again, it won't display the result to me because the cursor is at the end of the file. Then I have to manually take this cursor and put it back to the first character. And there is a way to do that actually. You can say myfile.seek and say 0 for the first element, like in a list. Okay? So it just takes the cursor to the beginning of the file. Now if I call my file.read, then it will display the result to me. Now, as you can see, it got a little bit complicated, and on the top of it, when I finish reading or when I finish dealing with this file, I have to manually close this as I opened it before. Because if I don't do that, I can get an error if I want to just delete this file or do something else with this file, okay? So you have to call this myfile.close. So if I go here and delete this right now, it won't be a problem because I closed this file. But as you can see, there are a lot of complications in this process. I have to call read, I have to call seek, I have to read again, and I have to call close. So this is open to just errors, this is open to failures. So there are better ways to deal with this. With keyword actually comes into play at this moment. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to first write the command, okay? So with keyword, and I'm going to say with open, and I'm going to open myfile.txt as my file. I'm going to first write the command and then explain it, okay? As you can see, it creates me a new coding block like in a function. So within this coding block with indentation, I'm going to say file read or file read is now my file dot read. Okay? If I hit shift enter, my work will be done. So if I call file read here, now it will display the result to me. And if I call file read one more time, it will display the result to me again. So there are no complications as before. So let me explain how it works. Actually, we use with unmanaged streams of data. Okay? So if a data isn't managed by anything, we can use with to work more efficiently. And this is what we are doing at this line here. So when we use with, we can use the keyword open as well, and then it creates a block, and below this block, below this coding block, we can do whatever we want to do, and we don't have to deal with this seek, read, and close. So maybe you won't use with very often, okay? Maybe you're going to use with only with the files. But also, there will be some cases that you will need with kind of listeners or functions. And don't worry about it, because the documentation of the library or module that you're using will tell you when to use with. But I just wanted to show you this because when a time comes like this, then you won't be thinking that what is with? We have never seen it before. And we're going to use with within the keylogger as well. But since we are at it, let me show you the other features of working with files. So let me create this myfile.txt one more time, but I'm going to assign this to a new variable called myNewFile, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing, read file new, okay? myNewFile.read. So this is the same thing, but I'm going to specify a mode this time. So what is a mode? So if I say R to the mode, it means that it will only have the permission to read. Okay? Now I can read this file. But also I can set this mode to be write as well. Or I can set this mode to something called append as well, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now Python can read this file but cannot write anything to it. Okay? But I can change this to be W and it means write. Then, as you can see, I cannot even call .read method because this won't be allowed because I specified mode to be write. Okay? So we cannot read this at this moment. So I'm going to delete this read line and instead I'm going to write something to it. And of course you can do this in another line as well, but let me do it in the same line. And I'm going to call this my new file dot write. Okay? And I'm going to write test4 and hit shift enter. Now if we try to read this file one more time, then we will see test4. Let me try this. Of course we cannot read this because I have specified this to be writable. So let me copy all this and paste it in here, but this time I'm going to say read rather than W. Then I will have to call this my new file too in order to avoid any confusion. So let me just say contents this time, and this will be my new file 2.read. So if we just have a look at contents, then I will see this is only test4. And as you can see, it just replaced the old content. Okay, it just deleted test 1, 2, 3 and it replaced it to be test4. But what if I want to append something? Not replacing it, but just appending something to it. Then I can just say mode is to be A. Okay, so we have W, we have R, and we have A as well. So let me show you how it works. I'm going to copy this whole thing in here and paste it in here, but now I'm going to say A, and I'm going to call this my file 3, and then I'm going to make this equal to, let me delete all of this thing actually and say my new file 3 dot write again and test5 with a space. And if I hit shift enter, now let me copy all of this and paste it in here for the last time and call this my new file 5 and call this contents2 with new file 5.read. Now if I call contents2, then I will see that my text is appended rather than replaced within the old one. So now you know how to read, write, and append. So let me mark this down here. Okay, so this is R for read, okay, R for read, and W for write, and A for append. Now, since we have learned what we have to learn, let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to continue building our keylogger.